Hey everyone, Token Dave over here. Dorky Token Black Guy who's just trying to get by. And welcome to another edition of That Was Random. Okay, no surprise, but millennials annoy the hell out of me. They do. No ifs, ands, buts about it. People in their 20s and their very, very early 30s, and I'm talking about 31, anywhere from 30 to 32, tend to annoy the fuck out of me, Now, I know it's hypocrisy since I'm in my late 30s, but I've always identified more with Generation X, but here's the thing. I'm hearing people my age or in their 40s talking about how kids today don't have any manners and everything. Really? You're really gonna go on that high horse? Okay. No surprise here, Since I feel this way about millennials, I personally, they annoy the heck out of me, like I said. But be that as it may, as a Gen Xer, one thing that I've always been has been cynical my whole life, but I've been as reasonable and rational as I can. And for someone my age or a little bit older, say somebody in their 40s, actually I'll even go as far as to say somebody in their late 40s, someone that's definitely a Gen Xer, for them to talk about younger people not having any manners or any respect, get the hell off your high horse. Because you want to know why this generation has no manners, no respect? Look at you. And here's the thing. I look at them because people forget that a lot of people that were born in the late 80s, up to the late 80s and all the way through the 90s, there was a huge, teen pregnancy epidemic in the 80s and in the 90s. So it's mostly these people from Gen X that were teenagers giving birth to the millennials, Now, and that's a vast majority of it. But it's not just the Gen Xers that are to blame for, the lack of manners that basically millennials and Gen Z tend to have. Because, we Gen Xers, we weren't as, polite, well-mannered, We were young once, we had a rebellious streak, but here's the thing. We actually learned that from the baby boomers. Because the baby boomers were the ones that really started to basically, not have any respect at all for the older generation. Because, let's be frank, one thing that I've always admired about baby boomers, in the 60s, with the cultural revolution of the 60s that happened, the civil rights movement, more liberation, more youth actually, trying to get involved in, being taken seriously. What came a consequence to that was basically thinking that people from the greatest generation, the World War II people that were in World War II, thinking that they were too old and too out of date with things and out of touch, So the baby boomers gave birth to this idea of liberation and freedom and not having to abide by authority. Now, me personally, I agree with that to a degree, but people took that way too far, because you're supposed to have some respect for authority, but at the same time, you're not supposed to follow it, to the T. There are some things you're going to disagree with, and you constructively disagree with them, But then, you are in no shape or form to say that you know better, or you were raised well off with, manners and integrity, And I'm hearing people my age and people in their 40s talking about the kids nowadays having no manners and no respect at all. They learned that from y'all. They learned that from my generation. We're the ones that gave birth to them. we're the ones that failed them with, like, you know, teaching them manners and proper etiquette, you know. So that's our fault. And the reason it's our fault is because the baby boomers themselves, you know, they had this string of, like, you know, anti-authoritarianism and everything, you know, sticking it to the man and all, you know. And, you know, while they had some decent concept in mind, you gotta realize that with that was going to happen, it was only going to get worse and worse down the line, you know. So, to be frank, anybody, like, you know, in their late 30s, up to their, like, you know, up to actually being 50 years old, 50 on the dot, if you're complaining that, like, kids today don't have any respect or any manners, yeah, you gotta look at y'all, because y'all the one that installed that in us, you know, that lack of morality, that lack of respect, you know, and that lack of basic human decency. Agree? Disagree? Drop me a comment below, give me a like, follow me on Facebook, The Token Dave, or on Twitter at TokenDaveAD, subscribe, ring that bell so you know when a new video loads, and spread this video out. But until then, this has been Token Dave, dorky token black guy who's just trying to get by. I'll catch you all later.